We are up. All right, I think it's actually live. It's actually moving for me now. I just wanted to do this real quick. Hadn't did a YouTube live before with any type of sincerity, just some test modes, but everything that I've done so far has either been pre-recorded or it's done through Facebook Live and I upload it to YouTube. So they said I'm not real until I get on YouTube and start doing YouTube live videos. So I'm starting with the YouTube live video tonight. I'm doing it from home. So anything that encounters in the house. So you may hear baby talking. You may hear Ray talking. You may hear Natty come down, go into the pantry or the refrigerator and get food. So it is what it is, but we're gonna get moving. I wanted to do this one today because it's really the topic of discussion, unfortunately. And I just want to make sure, I don't know if I'm clear. It doesn't feel like I'm as clear as I was before. Hold on one quick second. Let me just drop this light. So I guess that's better. But it is what it is. What's up, Free? What's up, Shell? How you doing? I had got to talking about Kamala with you, Shell, and I don't know, it seems to be an endless conversation with Frida and I, and it came out today about the Kwanzaa thing, or I think it was really yesterday, about the Kwanzaa thing, and it's maddening. It's maddening to me that at this point she still feels like she has to basically patronize us. I mean, we're here now. She tried to do it when she ran for president, that failed. And then there were failed attempts in the vice presidential run, even though she's here. She made it, she got across, but she still continues to do this pandering that now it's just outright lying. And I know some other people have put some things out there, but what I wanted to do before I got real deep into this situation, I looked some things up, some things I had already had when I had talked about Kamala before. So I looked some things up, and it was just, peace to my sister, Angela Nirvana. Looks like I'm stepping on her. She's on Facebook, and I think she actually is on YouTube. I didn't mean to step on her by postponing my joint tonight, but what I had to do, you got family stuff comes up. We had a sump pump issue, so, we're just handling that, and you got to get those things done before you do anything else. So I want to be in here trying to broadcast, and we underwater. But Kamala came out and talked about how her family is celebrating Kwanzaa this year. And her family has celebrated Kwanzaa all these years, and she celebrated it as a youngster. And I just want to know when. I mean, I guess my big thing is I want to know when and how. Did you do all of this when you never associated yourself with being Black? When you never put that work in of being a Black woman, all because it just wasn't there. So the things that I took down, I knew when Kamala was born, which was 1964. I knew she was born then. But then Kwanzaa was created in 1966. Okay, so with Kwanzaa being created in 1966 and Kamala was born in 1964, wasn't around when she was born. And then as she came into the world and Kwanzaa came into the world, and 2 years later, she says that they celebrated it at her house. And this was a common thing. And I just find that to be not only a lie, but it's something that couldn't have been mathematically possible just based on who she was raised by. We know she was raised by her mother. Her parents got divorced when she was 7, and she was raised by her mother. Her mother is a Brahmin Indian, and Kamala said that her mother would take them to a African-American cultural center, and they would get their Blackness basically through that, because they really weren't deep with her father. And it sounds like it was a bad divorce, which basically meant it was a bad situation with co-parenting. And then I look at it as fleeing. You know, I know she took a job in Montreal, but I looked at her mother as what she did was fleeing. She fled the Northern California area and went to Montreal to raise her two daughters to where they would have no chance to be raised by their father. And that was when Kamala was 12. So you got to understand, when Kamala was 12, that was 1976. That was 10 years after Kwanzaa got started. Kwanzaa was not a big thing in the 60s, and it wasn't a big thing in the 70s. It didn't really get big until the 80s and the 90s, where all the Black nationalism and all the Black power and this, that, and the other, all that stuff really started to come again, you know, well after the 60s and the 70s. But Kamala said that they celebrated it all the time. You know, they sat around and they talked about the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, which was weird to me because I know that she was raised by Brahmin Indians. She was not raised by even the Jamaican father and his family. And she used to go to India all the time. She rarely went to Jamaica. I think she went there a couple of times, but she said she went to India several times. But, you know, and says that she visited her family in Jamaica too. Well, they could have did that on a cruise. They could have did that on a vacation and all inclusive. Who knows? But it doesn't sound like she had the same type of balance with her mother that she had with her father. And then her father being Jamaican, I'm not sure how deep he was into Kwanzaa either. Never heard about any of his real civil rights exploits that she talked about her parents being a part of, but it is what it is. We only have what we have as far as our history goes. And Kamala was in a position to where when she ran, she was running as a Black candidate. Now, nobody asked how Black she was, but then as we saw her run, you could see she really wasn't Black at all. I mean, she's a Brahmin Indian. She's part Jamaican. What makes her Black is the Jamaican part. Unfortunately, that's the part she runs from. She runs from that Jamaican side, except when she's talking about smoking weed, listening to Tupac and Snoop Dogg records in college. That's the only time we ever hear about that Jamaican side, when it had to do with smoking cannabis, which was crazy to me because Jamaicans have a deep culture, and she probably could have learned a lot and really got some true Blackness from it, but she didn't do that. You know, she made it to where she's made it based on her skin tone, not her association, not her affiliation, and not anything that truly makes her a Black woman. She is brown in skin color. She's gotten into the right circles and worked with the right people. And they say, "You're a Black woman." And she says, "Yes, I am." And they go, "Here you go." You know, if she was a Brahmin Indian woman, it wouldn't be such a big deal that she was doing the thing that she did, because, hey, Indians make their moves in America. You know, this is why it's so wildly insane to me that she still keeps up these exploits about being a Black woman. She really does not live as a Black woman. She lives as a Brahmin Indian woman. She lives as a woman of color. Let's be honest. She lives as a woman of color. Sister Shauna, how you doing? Appreciate you in. She doesn't live as a Black woman. So my big thing now is to talk about, some of the things. It was really crazy. And I took this paragraph, took it right out of Wikipedia and edited it so I could actually speak on it while I was here. But it says, as a young girl, a neighbor, not her mother, not her father, not any other family members. I don't know if they had any other family members in America at the time, but it says, as a young girl, a neighbor regularly took the Harris girls to an African-American church. And she talked about going to Black churches when she came to the church here in Detroit. And she talked about how they had Sunday service and they got in their Sunday best. She used all those talking points and those keywords that really gets people. And they ate it up when she was here. So this was in Oakland, where they sang in the children's choir. Now, Kamala Harris and her sister sang in a children's choir in a Black church. This is what she said. We don't have any proof of it. I haven't seen any footage of it, but they said that she sang in a Black church as a little girl. And then their mother frequently visited a African-American cultural center. Now, I don't know anything about Northern California other than the fact that it's above Southern California. So maybe there was an African-American cultural center that she went to. Why would her Brahmin Indian mother take her there? I don't know. But the question that I'm asking, you'll understand in a minute. Then go to an African-American church. I wonder again, why would her Brahmin Indian mother take her there? Why would her Jamaican father let his Black daughters go there? You got to know that there's something wrong with this whole story. So it says their mother introduced them to Hinduism and took them to a nearby Hindu temple. Now, if she goes to an African-American church on Sundays, I don't know what day Hindus go to church or go to the temple, but why would they confuse the kids? If you go into an African-American church, whether it be, a Pentecostal or Baptist or whatever, why would you introduce Hinduism into them? Why would you give them those teeter-totters there? But this is what it says, where she occasionally sang as well. So she was singing the old Negro gospel songs, and then she would go sing the Hindu songs at the temple. So, Kamala was well-versed. I've never heard Kamala utter a song or a verse or even talk about any of this stuff, but I'm reading it because this is where it came from. As children, she and her sister visited their mother's family in Madras several times. I guess that's an Indian. Okay. She says that she had been strongly influenced by her maternal grandfather. Now, her maternal grandfather, not her daddy, not her paternal grandfather, her daddy's daddy. It was her mother's daddy who strongly influenced her. Okay. A retired Indian civil servant whose progressive views on democracy and women's rights impressed her. Now, I don't know anything from anything, but I've never known any Indian men who were really progressive about democracy and women's rights. I'm just going by what I know. I'm just going by what I've seen. Grew up with some Indians, met a lot through the course of my life. And the one thing that I do know is they don't give a fuck about women's rights. They don't give a fuck about democracy. Okay. They rule their homes and that's it. Nobody else has any say so. Nobody else. And whoever the man is, like he's the grandfather, he was probably the head of the whole clan. Because like when I sold cars, an Indian family could come in and they could test drive and they could do all kinds of stuff and they could pick everything out. But nobody made that decision until that old man came into the dealership with them sandals on. It could be cold like it is right now in Michigan. It'd be dead in the winter. He'd walk in there with the long garb on and they'd have a coat on him generally, but he'd have sandals on. He didn't have no regular shoes. He'd have sandals on. And unless he gave the nod, you wasn't selling no car to that family. And it only generally had to happen once. Once he trusted you and trusted how you took care of his family, then you'd have a green light. But that's all the way they work. They didn't work with no women's rights. They didn't work with no democracy. One man rules the family. Now, it may work differently at different points, but this is the way I knew Indians. Now, she's talking about back in the 70s and the 80s, where this maternal grandfather, he talked to her about democracy and women's rights. I have a problem with that. I have a true problem with that. Her father is a Jamaican immigrant with her. Exactly. Exactly, Sister Shauna. It makes no sense as to why her maternal grandfather would be her influence on Black culture, democracy, women's rights, any of that stuff. It makes absolutely no sense. And I'm sorry if I'm getting lost with what I'm saying and not catching this chat room. It's just a few of us in here, but I still want to be respectful. Anything that y'all say, I definitely, respect and revere. Appreciate y'all being here. You are in the Bay, Sister Shauna. So I want to read a couple of your comments here. Us in the Bay of San Francisco know her very well. Many families still impacted from her time as the San Francisco DA. And here's the thing. I'm gonna bring something else after this to talk about that, because she grifted. I get it. Rochelle, you asked, how could she become an AKA? How'd she get into? Look, she grifted, and she used the ultimate grift, being Black. You don't see very many people grift to any other culture in this world, but being Black gets you somewhere. It gets you inside where you might have not been able to get inside just coming in as Brahmin Indian, just coming in as Jamaican. But if you say you Black, and she said she was biracial. So at that time, back in the early 80s, when you said you was biracial, they acted like only biracial was Black and white. And they didn't ask. They didn't say nothing. They just said biracial. Okay, so she's half Black. Bring her on in. They didn't ask what the other half was. They didn't ask what the other beliefs were. They just said, oh, she biracial. She half Black. And then maybe the HBCU that she went to, I ain't gonna put them out here. Everybody knows what school she went to. They don't get no free pub. The HBCU she went to, maybe they thought that was a good thing. That was a sign of the times that biracial kids were now starting to come to the HBCUs. Well, now they got full-blown white kids going to the HBCUs, taking up all those resources from full-blown black kids. And how we living now, HBCUs, that's kind of where I'm at with that. So it said Harris remained in touch with her Indian aunts and uncles throughout her adult life. Harris also visited her father's family in Jamaica, period. That's it. The whole paragraph was about how she was Indian. And then right at the end, it said she also visited her family in Jamaica. Okay. Don't talk about no history. Don't talk about no influences. She never talks about her Jamaican father. The person that makes her black, the very being that makes her black, has been vacated from this whole situation. And that's what I used to get pissed off about. I'm like, as a father, if my kids walked around and said they did all this and did all that, knowing good and well that they're getting it based on how they coded, and then I'm forgotten, I'm thinking to myself, well, what did I do here? I created what? I created nothing. And that's where Kamala's father, I think, has to be like, she doesn't even think about saying anything about Jamaica, unless it has something to do with smoking weed, listening to Tupac records and Snoop Dogg records, and sending shouts out to Phife Dawg, who's been dead for 3 years. Anyways, there's a lot of Indians here in the Bay Area, especially in Berkeley, and they are very male dominated within their households. It's just something that I know. It's just something that I know. What's up, Tony Tone? It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me how people bought her line of bull. They bought it, and I get it. I understand it. But if you just dug a little bit deeper, where we should have dug with the Kenyan American president that we had, we dug that deep with Kamala, and we figured it out. And that's why she had to drop out the race, only to be picked up by the 4th place finisher. And I don't know how they in the White House. We got the 4th place and the 7th place finisher in the Democratic race, and they in the White House. But anyway, it is what it is. So Kamala's parents divorced in 1971. She was 7 years old. So she went from seeing her daddy, being around her daddy and all that kind of stuff every day, pretty much, for 7 years. Then her mom takes her away and they lived somewhere else. Then in 76, when Kamala was 12, they moved, okay? So it says her parents divorced when she was 7. Harris said that when she and her sister visited their father in Palo Alto on weekends, other children in the neighborhood were not allowed to play with them because they were Black. In 1976, when she was 12, Harris and her sister moved with their mother to Montreal, okay? Now, Oakland, San Francisco, Berkeley, I don't know where Palo Alto is in association, all that. Then you go to Montreal, Quebec. She really wasn't living Black before, but she definitely ain't gonna be living Black in Montreal, where her mother began teaching at a university. She attended a French-speaking school and graduated from high school in 81. So all the schools she went to were French-speaking. So maybe they had some translation. Maybe Kamala picked up on some French. I don't know. I'm not really worried about those intricacies. I just know she went to school, early school, middle school, and high school, and it was French talking. So probably not a lot of Black people. I know there's some Black Frenchmen, but probably not. Okay. More like her father, where her mother looks more like her mother. Yeah. He is still due to her mother's complexion, and she would be at the bottom of the. But see, she's not though. Brahmin Indians are at the highest of the heights. They're the highfalutin Indians. So I don't know. I mean, it's the way I see it. You know, her family supposedly was up there, you know, in the upper echelon. You may know different. I don't know. I have never dug that in. I'm more concerned about her roots here. I'm not really concerned about her roots over there. Palo Alto is in the South Bay region, okay, near San Jose. It's a very white region, and what she expect during that time. See, and that was the thing. Why would her father have moved to Palo Alto during this whole civil rights thing? The way she tuned that up, Sister Shauna, and anybody else listening right now, she had tuned this up early on and talked about how her mother and father had her in a stroller and they were rolling down the street in civil rights marches. Not in Palo Alto. Not in Palo Alto. If Palo Alto was all white, the Black Panthers probably weren't really focusing on that area. They were focusing on the area around Oakland and all the other areas. This is what I know. Stanford University is down that way. Okay, so where were the civil rights marches and all that stuff back then, Sister Shauna? Were they in that area, in that Palo Alto area? Were they more near Berkeley and Oakland and San Francisco and all that stuff? Because that's what I thought. You know, she was always talking on that she was in a stroller and her parents were power to the people and they were walking down the street and they were doing all this craziness. And all of this stuff happened during the course of her upbringing. Then we come to find out that probably none of that has really happened. None of that was really, because if her parents were divorced, I mean, she living with her mother, going to her daddy's side, and he's in a white side of town. When did all this civil rights activism happen? She talked about how she was bussed and she had to be bussed and it was a whole racial thing. When did all that happen? It sounds like your parents were doing pretty well. You was pretty much going to the school you needed to go through. Why did you have to be bussed? I don't know. So I'm still looking for those types of answers. Nobody's really ever been able to answer that stuff because not too many people come up that she went to school with, but we do. East Bay, Berkeley, Oakland, San Francisco, okay. So it wasn't Palo Alto. You know, she was saying that's where they couldn't play with the kids. It wasn't Palo Alto. And if her daddy lived in Palo Alto and she lived in Berkeley, why would her Brahmin Indian mother be deep in the streets with the Black Panthers when she's teaching them about Hinduism, but they getting taken to church by a neighbor? It doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense to me. Okay, so this is something that I took too, and I don't know who this lady is. So I'm not going to voice her name. I actually edited her name out so I could say it, so I could read it for this broadcast. But it says a high school friend told CBC News in 2020 that Harris was her best friend and described how she confided in Harris that she had been molested by her stepfather. She says that Harris told her mother, who then insisted that she come live with them for the remainder of the final year in high school. Now, I don't know the intricacies of it, and maybe they condensed it, and maybe there was a whole legal thing that went on. But I'm thinking if you got an abrasive and abusive and nasty ass stepfather, then you probably got a submissive and abused stepmother or mother. So how easy is it for you to just basically take a kid you knew in town, or you've been there for a few years now, but new in the country, you take a kid and take them out of their home and let them stay at your house? They made this sound like some superhero shit, and it was just crazy the way they did it. So she stayed with them for the remaining of high school. The high school BFF said Harris had recently told her, this is another grifting move, but this is where this whole video came about. I would have not done this live probably just based on the Kwanzaa comment. Okay, this is I have problems with this. So the high school BFF said Harris had recently told her that their friendship and playing a role in countering her exploitation helped form the commitment Harris felt in protecting women and children as a prosecutor. Now, didn't Kamala put women in jail for kids being truant? Kids that were sick, that couldn't actually go to school? So this helped her develop her compassion and protecting women and children as a prosecutor. So if that was the case, what were you like before you had this friendship? Because if you were that nasty to where you sent single mothers to jail for their kids not going to school, and the kids had been hospitalized and then basically were being infirmed at home, but you put the mamas in jail, you had cameras come out for photo ops and things like that. When that all happened, were you thinking about your friend who had been molested by a stepfather who stayed at your house and you saved her and took her out of that world? See, a lot of this stuff just don't sound right. When you say that this is what grounded you, what rooted you and committed you to protecting women and children, I think back to the women that you put in jail. I think back to the women that you had doing the perp walk. I think back to all the stuff that you've done adverse to Black women since you've been out here on the political trail. That's what I think about. Berkeley was integrated before elementary schools. There was only one high school in Berkeley still. My butt was bused to Berkeley for kindergarten and first grade around 1981. Wow. So that was probably just an all-out lie that nobody went to back up. When she got in Joe Biden's ass, her new boss, when she got in Joe Biden's ass, basically nobody did a fact check on what Kamala said. They were just basically talking about how well she had got at Joe and how it stifled Joe and this, that, and the other. When you look at it in all the grand scheme of things now, that was a setup. Kamala going at Joe was basically a setup. It was showing the strong Black woman going against the long time, pioneer politician, and knowing how staunch he was and the way he did things. See, they set it up. It was a scene. It was just a symbol of showing that how well she could be in a room. But we had already seen that. We had already seen the Senate hearings and how Kamala got at people and twisted people's words up. She was probably really good in the DA office and all that stuff. We had already seen all that. But why did we need to see another show? Because that's all that was another show. She ain't Ruby Bridges for sure. She definitely ain't Ruby Bridges. Got these stories on. See, so, hey. So she did what she needed to do to get to the stage. She failed at the presidential stage. She was put on the sidelines only to be picked up by the person that everybody basically laid down for. Another person basically, who's done what he's done to get where he's gotten. Ain't always been, with our best interests. And we get that and we understand that. But what Kamala is doing now is she's playing Black people against most Black people I know don't even celebrate Kwanzaa. And I'm talking about Black Americans. I'm not talking about biracial. I'm not talking about Black immigrants. I'm talking about American descendants of slavery, American descendants of freedmen, however you want to look at it. They don't even celebrate Kwanzaa. But here, Kamala, she gonna show up talking about she celebrates Kwanzaa, been celebrating Kwanzaa and the 7 principles all her life. So with her white husband and with her white husband's kids, who are also white, they sit around and celebrate Kwanzaa. Come on, girl, stop. Why would you keep this lie up? We good, you in there now. Your feet gonna get put to the fire. Your little light-skinned feet gonna get put to the fire because you ran as a Black candidate, you got nominated as a Black candidate, you got nominated as a Black VP candidate, and now you are VP elect and we see you as a Black woman. Whether your stories is mixed up, she got her shit all soul trained, scramble boarded and shit. I get all that, but we gonna get it straight because Joe put her in there for a reason. Symbolic, we know this. But if that's what he put her in there for, then we got to answer these questions. See, we ain't gonna be them civil rights people. Them Negroes that they sat in front of and lambasted, actually, Kamala really didn't do that. That was all Joe. I'm putting that all out on Joe. When Kamala did actually stand up and say something and it was competent and it was sound, Joe stepped all over it. Joe stepped all over what Kamala said. So the way I'm looking at it, yeah, we hitting Joe in the chest, but we gonna catch Kamala too. We're going to catch Kamala too. She is not above reproach in this situation. Just because she's supposed to be one of us don't mean nothing. She here. What's wrong with y'all? What's wrong with y'all? Y'all just sitting there. It'd be different if you was at the door or something. You're just sitting there barking, doing nothing. I'm sorry, I got 25 pounds worth of killer dogs here and they up here barking and shit like something's going wrong. I don't get it, but it is what it is. And the smallest of the two, now she is looking out the back door. There's nothing out there, Ruby. Okay? Yeah. Okay, sorry. I didn't know what was going on, so I had to just turn around and look. But anyways, we got to get it straight. We got to get, they might be mad at Kamala too, Frida. I don't know. They might be mad at Kamala too. I just don't get where we are with the symbolism in her. And she don't have nobody. I mean, here's the thing. Simone Sanders probably could have stepped in and said, look, Ruby, go lay your ass down. There's nobody out there. Simone Sanders should have been the person who's a high-ranking advisor, I guess, on Kamala's staff to say, that's probably not going to be a good look. You don't have any history of celebrating Kwanzaa, okay? And, Kamala done been at a whole bunch of Hollywood functions. She done been at a whole bunch of dignitary functions and Christmas holiday and holiday. When have you seen Kamala dressed up in the African garb and celebrating Kwanzaa? You've never seen that. But all of a sudden, as VP elect, she gonna put the 7 candles behind her, and she gonna do her thing. Come on now, it don't make no sense. We're starting to see symbol after symbol after symbol, and that's all a distraction. Simone is a symbol too. She's absolutely a symbol with a crispy ass bald fade. That's the thing. They should have had Simone going around doing the shop talks and getting her hair faded up by the barbers. If they was gonna go symbolism, go all out symbolism. Have Kamala come in, maybe get her eyebrows done, and then have Simone come in and just get tight fades all over the country. They was going to all the black barbershops all around the country. So why didn't they just have Simone come out and just get her fade tightened up? And maybe somebody could do something with that hairline, because the hairline, I'm not sure exactly what happened with that hairline, but that needs to be taken care of too. That hairline does not work. Not for her, not the way her head shaped. It doesn't work. She needs to cut that back a little bit, but it is what it is. And them lines and all that stuff, we don't need all that. You just get it blended in, do what you're gonna do. Do what you're gonna do. But they keep hitting us with the symbols, and if you read, like in the New York Times article, you read about how this COVID bill that Trump said he ain't gonna sign unless people get more money. They said how influential Joe was. And if you know Joe was influential, you have to know Kamala was influential. And if Kamala ain't looking out for us more than $600 for a one-time payment, come on, man. Kamala should have been looking straight towards Oakland, straight towards California as a whole, looking at all the people that need that, looking at all the black people all around the country. This is where she could have really stepped up and said, we need more. We need more, Joe. We need more. And I know that Trump's supposed to still be in power, but everybody's really listening to Joe. And they said he was heavily in that room, not physically, but he was in that room. His influence was in that room. And him and Nancy and them put that together. So it wasn't just the people that are in there. Joe's already got pull in there. Kamala as a senator's got pull in there. You know, Cory Booker, he was up there texting Kamala everything that was going on in the senator hearings. That's her BFF. So they had their light-skinnedness going on. You definitely know they had their light-skinnedness going on, and they was texting each other, and he was letting her know all the little skinny on everything. They was tipping off Don Lemon. They Don Lemon's they boy. So they had a whole light-skinned faction going on. Everybody was in the know. Everybody knew. And then Trump blew it up. Said, I ain't signing it. Said he ain't signing it unless there's more money that's going to come out. Now, I don't know if that's really what's going to happen, or if he ends up getting pressured into signing it, or if they end up being able to put the bill past without him. I don't know. They've been talking about this. I forgot this pocket veto or whatever, but he could do something to where the time runs out and they got to start all over again. Where are these people at, man? At $600, that's not helping. But if they don't get the $600, I mean, where these people going to be? It makes no sense. They're trying to give you half of what they gave you the first time, and it was already late on that. It's nuts. Uh-oh. CNN breaking news. Trump just signed the COVID-19 relief package. So he signed it. And if he signed it and people are going to get $600, there's going to be more problems out here. If that's what he just did, if he just put that into play, looks like 600. $600 right there. I'm not sure what that's going to do to somebody that's 3 months behind in rent, knowing that they had a lot of lacks, going on, even though those protections had went up, then they extended them and this, that, and the other. I mean, you get that 600. Are you really going to give that 600 to somebody to be evicted? Because a lot of people, they're not going to take the 600, or if they do take the 600, is that going to stop them from evicting you? But what about food? What about all your stuff that you need to take care of your family? Cleaning solutions and this, that, and other. I mean, $600. It just doesn't make sense to when they even talk about giving that amount of money to an individual, and they tried to blow what he was saying out of the water, saying, $2,000 for an individual, $4,000 for a couple. $600, absolutely. I mean, it damn near makes me vomit to think that somebody with a couple kids, and I know they're supposed to be getting money per head on the kids, but still, where is that going to go? Where's that really going to go? It's on article where it was stating that he talks over Kamala. Absolutely. He's been absolutely talking over her. Yeah. He needs to give up the election thing altogether. You know, I mean, what he needs to do is if there's some people out here that having to deal with, you know, maybe he needs to help Leffler or whoever he's going to help out over there. The election's over. That's done. Oh, okay. So he had to sign it tonight because the unemployment benefits expire in the AM. Okay. Got it. And the government shut down. I had heard about that. So yeah, whatever the pressures may be, and $600 checks being printed up for people that need far more, it's lunacy to me. But I appreciate his effort at least to try to get the people. There's not very many times you're going to ever see me agree with Donald Trump, but the one time I did agree with him was like, yeah, he's right. People need more money. I mean, they just do, And the way I had broke it down, I mean, they want to fight for $15 an hour for a minimum wage. And when you look at the minimum wage of $15 an hour and a standard work week is 40 hours, $15 an hour times 40 hours is $600. That's exactly what they just gave people. They gave them a 1 week's pay after months of giving them nothing. 1 week. You're not going to survive that way. It's crazy to me, but it is what it is. It is what it is. But yeah, she said that she was rooted in commitment to helping helping women and children after taking care of her friend and pulling her up out of a bad situation, being sexually abused by her stepfather. That's a heart tugger. That's going to make people think like, damn, she's really compassionate. She really helps out. She really did this. She really did that. But how did we go from there to her arresting women for their children not going to school, getting fired from their jobs, losing health benefits, making life worse than it already was? How did we go from there? And this person is still in Canada. Maybe she had no reason to ever leave Montreal or wherever she lives. But, seemed like this person would have been somebody that would have tailed Kamala or at least caught up with Kamala later in life. Like, you rising all the way up. Kamala's in number 2 chair. She's in the number 2 chair in the world. This is what people have to really put in their minds. Kamala is 1 step away from the button. 1 step. Nah, Pelosi got to go too. She got to go. You're right, Free. You're right. I mean, he could have, and they would have kept pushing that back. But if we start high, maybe we end up at 12, 15. We don't end up at 6. 6. 6 it's going to hurt more people than not. That's the crazy thing. It's really not going to help anybody at 6. And you got other countries, they giving up monthlies, 2,000, 1,800, 2,400. In America, this will be $1,800 over a 9-month period. That's $200 a month average stimulus payment, relief payment, COVID fund payment. $200 average per month when it actually ain't been coming in every month. Came back in the spring and the summer. And now you getting it here. $1,800 over a 9-month period. $200 a month. The richest country in the world is breaking off their citizens at a $200 clip every month. That's what you got. And they didn't give it to you that way. They gave it to you in 1 hit and another hit. Her San Francisco career prompted by Willie was about a ladder climb. Absolutely. It was about climbing on something else too, Shoshana. Not doing for the people. put her up to get rid of the well-known San Francisco DA, whom was deemed as progressive. They used gender to get him out. Wow. So bringing in a woman, and then they double down because they could bring in a black woman. Then you have downtown Willie Brown's endorsement of her. That was a play. That was a play. And she rode with it. And she rode with it. And getting in there the way she did and not doing things for people, seems like people would have known early on, whoa, she ain't for us. Kamala's really not for us. But I don't know why they didn't know. You got to see, mind you, not all citizens received a check. Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Not every citizen is getting a check, or everyone over 18. This is very true. And it's going to happen again. And hell, they were sending checks to dead people, you know. They were sending checks to dead people. They were sending checks to people that were incarcerated, you know. I myself, I have child support arrears, so I don't get a check. But see, you could owe $1 million in taxes and get a check. You could owe $100,000 in student loan debt and get a check. But if you owe child support, you're not getting a check. It's the strangest thing to me, but that's America. That's America. So how are they determining who's getting that check? If all the citizens aren't getting them, obviously, except child support cases, how are they determining who's getting a check and who's not getting a check? Who is doing that? And who did it the first time? And what's to prevent it from happening again? I guarantee you there'll be tons of people that are no longer on this earth gonna get a check. Think of all the COVID deaths. You know, people that have died recently, all that stuff's not being documented properly because ain't nobody in these offices documenting stuff properly. So there's going to be checks that go out to people that have already died. You know, I don't know. I should ask Candy, did she get a check? I don't know. Hopefully this Candy, sweetie, I don't think so. I don't know if she'll know. I want to know too. I just like to know, like, did you get a check? Because if they took it from me, they should give it to you. I mean, granted, our daughter's 24, but still, don't just take it from me and not give it and not give it to somebody else. If you wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. That's crazy. Yeah, but I want to ask. Because if you're supposed to get one, oh, yeah, it just came across my device. It just came across, said he just signed a $900 billion stimulus bill. So, I mean, I get it. I get it because it's going to prevent a lot of other rigmarole. I get that. But for what people are going to end up, yeah, see, I don't get that. But Raymond, she may know. She may actually know. But you know, I didn't know if they kept it, if they forwarded, maybe they put it on their check. Sweetie, you know the $1,200. Yeah. Would Candy have gotten that, or should she have gotten that? I'm gonna ask her, did they send it to her? Hey, boo boo. Sorry, y'all. I'm not really saying sorry, but she's getting ready to go to bed. She's getting ready to go to bed. You say night night. There you go. You smell all good? I'm a cable. Okay. I understand. I love you. A kiss? Okay. We talk tomorrow? Say bye-bye. Say bye-bye. Mwah. 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 All right. I love you.
It's okay. It's okay.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm gonna hurry up and get off here because she's about to go down and I'm loud. So, but I appreciate y'all. I just don't. I don't get how long we're gonna be able to go with these Kamala shenanigans, with the symbolism, with all the things that are happening right now. I think the stimulus bill, you know, I mean, I already said, you know, our money's going to the fish. They taking care of more fish than they taking care of black people. They taking care of fish all over the world. The preservation of fish is in high demand right now on this COVID bill. I don't know what it has to do with coronavirus. I'm not sure exactly, but the millions of dollars that are going there versus going to families. And the ones who need it the most out here are the black families. So, yeah, I know she does. And as much as I wanted to, she needs to go to bed and then she can get up in the morning and we'll have a new day. So, but yeah, I just wanted to get on here and hopefully this live was clear. You know, I don't need you to see me as much as clear, but I need it to be audibly clear. I'm trying this YouTube out because I think I need to push on from Facebook. Facebook did a little damage to me over these last several days. You know, restricted me, blocked some posts. You know, they doing some things that I think is going to get worse because as Black Americans, we're becoming more focused on ourselves and we speaking more for ourselves. They don't like that. When we speak about people of color, when we speak about minorities, that's all love for everybody. But when we speak about what we need, they don't like that. They really don't like that. We speak about independence, and they don't like that. And as I've spoken before, I'm not really trying to be a big player on YouTube. I'm not trying to be a big player on any level, but we need this vessel, so we're going to use it right now. But then we get our own independent formats and platforms, and that's where we really need to be. We need to stop giving our talent, our creativity to other people, and we need to be able to build. And anybody I stepped on tonight, you know, doing stuff on Facebook or other people doing stuff on YouTube, I got 300 subscribers, so I ain't stepping on a whole lot of people, but I know I stepped on my sister Angela because she kicked up at 8 o'clock. And when I get off of here, I'm gonna go check her out. Anybody else that's out there, you know, talking realness, I definitely don't. I don't want to be disrespectful because I don't have a standard time slot, but I'm developing all that and getting that all together. But I appreciate everybody that's on here. Tone, I appreciate you coming through. Sister Shauna, as always, Sister Free, you know that. I know Rochelle's in here as well. Rochelle, I'm glad you're starting to get up on that ADOS stuff, you know, so we can really chop it up, you know, because that fire we created over on Facebook, you know, that can be turned into a real positive situation. We don't have to be sitting here, you know, worrying about individuals and what they've done to us. We worried about, you know, we don't even worry about anything. We just concern ourselves with where we're going and where we're moving forward. So, you know, keep catching that game. And, you know, we'll talk more on that side too. But this is pretty much it. I don't have an opening and closing. So I'm just going to say, as I always say, one love. Y'all be good.